Before the era of brooding superheroes, there existed a time when crime fighters would pause mid-chase to deliver moral lectures to criminals, politely waiting for a commercial break before resuming the action. Between 1966 and 1968, the Batman television series transformed crime fighting into a chaotic piece of pop art. With Adam West performing so earnestly that his seriousness became ridiculous, and Burt Ward exhibiting seemingly limitless enthusiasm, the show disregarded every television convention to create a world where punches were accompanied by on-screen text, and the Batmobile appeared to have driven straight out of a vivid sci-fi fantasy. Yet beneath those bright colors and playful, campy performances lay a bruised and very literal, behind-the-scenes reality. Explosions nearly burned the cast alive. Tight, revealing costumes sparked outrage among parents, and metal props were ready to strike anyone standing in the wrong place. This set was anything but safe. Today, we are counting down the 10 most horrifying and sensitive incidents on the set of Batman 1966. 10. The Batmobile explosion accident. The burning coffin. Do you remember the thrill every time the engine roared and the Batmobile shot out of the Batcave? For audiences in the 1960s, it was a symbol of justice and futuristic technology. But behind those dazzling shots, the line between an iconic scene and a terrifying tragedy was sometimes thinner than a strand of hair. That iconic superhero vehicle 1 second too late could have turned into a burning coffin, a statement that is no exaggeration when considering the infamous incident involving the modified Lincoln Futura. During one fateful take, the rear flame exhaust system, designed to produce a cool jet-like fire effect, suddenly suffered a fuel leak. Instead of a small decorative flame, it erupted into a fierce blaze right next to the car's fuel tank, a vehicle worth thousands of dollars. What made this even more dangerous was that both Adam West and Burt Ward were trapped inside the cramped cockpit, completely unaware that death was right behind them. They maintained their serious expressions, continuing to act according to the script, with hands firmly on the wheel, calmly discussing battle strategies while the fire behind them raged nearly out of control, licking at the rear of the car. It was not until the heat began seeping through the metal body and panic screams from the crew filled the set that Burt Ward realized what was happening. He had to leap out of the car in sheer terror, his thin silk costume only centimeters away from the flames. But what truly shocks people is that director William Dozier never cut the scene. That intense moment seen in the final version, where the Batmobile speeds through thick smoke and fire, is actually a near-fatal accident involving the show's 2 biggest stars. The production decided to keep the footage because it delivered a level of raw, breathless realism that no special effects of the time could ever replicate. 9. The wardrobe malfunction, when Catwoman was defeated by a seam. The female villains of the 1960s always carried a deadly charm. Dressed in tight, shimmering outfits, they did not just fight Batman with martial arts, but also with wit and powerful beauty. However, that perfection often became their greatest enemy under the harsh lights of the film set. Catwoman's costumes, and those of her female henchmen, were frequently made from sequins or synthetic leather materials, with very little flexibility and poor elasticity. In one high-intensity action scene, as Catwoman delivered a powerful spinning kick toward the Dark Knight, a fateful rip tore through the silence of the set. The tight costume could not withstand the strain and split open at an extremely sensitive spot. The incident happened so quickly that the actress froze mid-pose, stunned in her fighting stance. But the most ironic and unintentionally hilarious part was not the costume itself, but the reaction of those around her. Instead of rushing in to help or cover her up, the entire mail crew, from cameramen to lighting technicians, stood frozen for several seconds, as if under spell. The director had to scream at the top of his lungs before anyone finally called cut. The situation turned what was supposed to be a tense battle into an awkward comedy scene, becoming a memorable and humorous story that reminds us that even Gotham's most dangerous women could sometimes be defeated by a single faulty seam. 8. The rope ladder trick. Heroes left hanging midair. There is an image that has become an immortal legacy of Batman 1966. The scene where the 2 heroes climb walls using a rope ladder. This was a signature filming technique of the time, in reality involving the actors crawling on a horizontal surface dressed to look like a wall, with the camera tilted 90 degrees. But even when climbing on flat ground, danger still found its way in the most unexpected ways. To make their capes hang naturally, as if they were climbing vertically, the crew had to use a series of thin cables to pull the costumes downward. However, the pulley system and the ladder's metal hooks sometimes betrayed them. There were moments when cables snapped or hooks slipped loose, causing Batman and Robin, who were supposed to look heroic, to instead tumble awkwardly or dangle helplessly, limbs flailing in midair right in front of the entire crew. The peak of this absurdity came during a scene featuring a guest star at a window, a common cameo setup of the time. In one failed take, the guest actor, fully immersed in the role, accidentally stepped forward and stomped directly onto Adam West's hand as he was climbing. Because he was in a stage position, Adam had no stable support and nearly fell off the platform, creating a truly heart-stopping moment. This failed take proves that maintaining a serious face and delivering lines confidently while one's body is being tormented by cables and props required extraordinary effort from Adam West and Burt Ward. They were not just fighting crime. They were battling their own faulty equipment. 7. Makeup disaster. The Joker's crumbling smile. When we think of the Joker, we immediately picture that chilling grin and ghostly white face. But in the 1960s, behind the iconic makeup of actor Cesar Romero was a quiet battle between a gentleman's pride and the harsh demands of the role, leading to unbelievable moments right in front of the camera. Cesar Romero was a seasoned actor who deeply valued his signature mustache, something that had defined his image for decades. He flatly refused to shave it, even while playing a white-faced clown. To accommodate the star, the production team applied a thick layer of white makeup, almost like plaster, over the mustache, hoping the bright studio lights would hide it completely. Reality, however, was far less forgiving. Under the intense heat of the studio lights, Romero began sweating beneath the makeup, causing it to lose adhesion. During an important scene where the Joker was maniacally laughing while threatening Batman, the dry makeup began cracking and breaking apart in large chunks. Instead of a powerful grin, the audience would have seen flakes falling like snow, some even flying into Romero's mouth, making him choke and forcing the scene to stop immediately. The moment when Batman's arch-nemesis was coughing and trying to spit out chunks of makeup became one of the most valuable and unintentionally hilarious bloopers in the show's history. It revealed not only the charming stubbornness of an old-school star, but also how makeup back then could be a dangerous sport, requiring actors to have strong lungs just to avoid inhaling powder. 6. Sensitive incident. The battle with Spandex. Batman 1966 was meant to be an educational, family-friendly show where every detail had to be polished and morally appropriate. Yet there was one awkward issue that sparked a real media crisis, sending parents into outrage while leaving the male leads in an embarrassingly uncomfortable situation, all because of their own costumes. The problem lay in the tight spandex material. The suits worn by Batman and Robin had no protective padding whatsoever, which caused the actors' sensitive areas to become far too visible on low-resolution television screens. The Catholic League of Decency in the United States reacted strongly, arguing that this was inappropriate for children, forcing the production to implement extremely painful corrective measures. Burt Ward suffered the most. To maintain the superhero image as smooth according to censorship standards, the production reportedly required him to take unusual pills said to reduce the appearance of certain body parts, while also forcing him to wear tightly wrapped bindings that restricted blood circulation. In one action scene that required flexibility, Burt Ward had to stop midway, his face contorted in pain. These bloopers were often hidden due to their sensitive nature, but they stand as proof of a bizarre behind-the-scenes reality and the sacrifices actors had to endure at the time. They did not just memorize lines or practice fight choreography. They also had to battle their own bodies to satisfy strict parental standards. 5. Accidental contact. When Batman lost his bearings. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to fight while wearing a rigid mask with severely limited vision? For Adam West, it was not the experience of a skilled warrior, but a series of awkward collisions that made him want to disappear out of sheer embarrassment. The Batman mask in the 1960s had extremely small, deep-set eye holes, which nearly eliminated Adam West's peripheral vision. During chaotic fight scenes inside villain lairs, already dimly lit and cluttered with props, judging distance and positioning became a matter of pure luck. The most memorable incident occurred during a chaotic fight scene with Catwoman and her henchmen. While moving into position to deliver a scripted punch, Batman completely lost his sense of direction and accidentally fell forward, landing directly on the actress playing Catwoman. Unable to see clearly in the darkness, the Dark Knight's hands ended up in places they absolutely should not have been, creating an extremely sensitive situation right in front of the director. The entire set fell silent for a few seconds before erupting into awkward laughter from the crew. Adam West, still wearing his imposing mask, immediately began apologizing profusely, exclaiming, "My God, I really couldn't see anything." These bloopers never made it to air, but they remind audiences that behind the heroic image were very human moments of clumsiness and vulnerability beneath the mask. For the enemy called knockout gas, when white smoke became a disaster. In the world of Batman 1966, villains loved using knockout gas to capture the dynamic duo. It was a visually iconic and mesmerizing effect. But few people realized that behind that smoke, actors paid with their own lung health. To create the thick, billowing white smoke typical of villain lairs, such as those of Penguin or the Joker, the technical crew at the time used cheap chemical mixtures, often based on industrial oils. Back then, workplace safety was not a major concern, and the smoke was essentially a harmful chemical aerosol when inhaled in large quantities. In one intense action scene, too much smoke was released, completely eliminating visibility and turning the air thick and suffocating. Instead of delivering heroic pow and bam punches, Batman and Robin suddenly became ordinary people struggling through what felt like severe asthma attacks. 3. The suffocating mask nightmare. When the hero couldn't breathe. You look at Batman's mask and think of mystery and power. But for Adam West, it was literally a miniature iron cage. In the sweltering heat of a 1960s Los Angeles studio, maintaining the image of a non-brooding superhero sometimes became a battle against sheer physical exhaustion. The Batman mask of that era was made from a rigid blend of leather and synthetic plastic. It had no ventilation holes, no way for air or sweat to escape. Under the blazing studio lights, Adam West's face was essentially trapped inside a mobile pressure chamber. Sweat could not escape. It ran back into his eyes and nose, causing extreme discomfort that he still had to endure while delivering his lines. A moment both tragic and darkly comedic occurred while Batman was confidently lecturing criminals about morality. 2. The ticking bomb. When Batman set his own rear on fire. Action films are nothing without explosive moments, and Batman 1966 was no exception. But in an era before computer-generated effects, every explosion was real. And sometimes the overenthusiasm of pyrotechnics experts turned a heroic escape into an unforgettable and unintentionally hilarious disaster that Adam West would rather forget. During a scene where Batman escapes a massive explosion in Penguin's lair, the pyrotechnics team accidentally used too much explosive material in an attempt to make the scene more spectacular. The result was a blast that shook the entire set, far more powerful than expected. 1. The Batshield incident, when a prop became a real weapon. And here we are at number 1, the most infamous incident on the list. A shining shield meant to symbolize ultimate protection nearly turned a simple scene into a real-life criminal case on the set of Batman 1966. The legendary Batshield, a bulletproof shield, was made from real metal to achieve the most authentic shine and reflection under studio lighting. But this realism came at a cost. The shield was heavy with dangerously sharp edges. During a chaotic fight scene, with his vision severely limited by the mask, Adam West accidentally threw the shield in the wrong direction, completely off from the rehearsed choreography. The heavy metal shield flew through the air like a deadly disc and struck a stunt actor directly in the face. The impact was so strong that it knocked him backward instantly, leaving him bleeding and unconscious on the spot. At that moment, Adam West completely dropped the Batman persona. He tore off his mask, rushed over to help the injured actor in a state of panic, apologizing repeatedly while still wearing the gray suit that now looked painfully out of place against his genuinely distressed expression. Behind the bright colors, the exaggerated campy humor, and the tight spandex costumes was a behind-the-scenes reality that was bruised in the most literal sense. Adam West and Burt Ward were not just battling the Joker or Penguin. They were surviving burning Batmobiles, suffocating masks, and sharp metal props that could strike a coworker at any moment. It was precisely this raw, reckless, and sometimes absurdly unfortunate chaos that helped shape the immortal legend of Batman 1966. A show where even the bloopers carried a strange charm, too good and too real to be left on the cutting room floor. What about you? Do you know any other bloopers or behind-the-scenes accidents? Let us know in the comments below. And do not forget to like, share, and subscribe so you will not miss any future episodes in our series, exploring the hidden secrets of cinema.